Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Bill Carlos, 2nd Ward.
Joseph Lepore, 5th Ward.
Ann Schurshin, 6th Ward.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, Attorney for the Town.
John Baisley, Deputy Supervisor. Tonight we have a rather short agenda. We're going to start off with, we have a public hearing tonight on the budget. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for first public hearing on the budget.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anybody here to comment on the budget? Doreen, step right up.
So I have some comments / questions. I don't know how you want to handle those, but okay. So there are some budget lines that seem to be allocated higher than what was requested. And for example, the part-time pay for courts, it said the requested amount for 2017 was $88,375, but the tentative budget for 2017 is allotting them $120,800. So,
Doreen, the change in that is court security. That was in the police department budget. Being it's in the courts, we moved over the court security line for the police officers there into their budget.
okay, so, but I guess I'm not understanding how it is that they said they needed $88,000 and it was determined that you really needed.
It was our decision that court security was always covering the police department budget, so
Okay.
we actually know what the court is using. We took it out of the police department and put it over into the courts where it belongs. So just moving the line over, it wasn't their choice asking for extra money. We just put it where we thought when Charlie goes through the numbers for the year, that is part of what they've spent, so it's theirs.
So was that amount of money being used under the police line item
Before.
anyway?
Before. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and so I have a number of those. And then there's another question, like under judgment and claims miscellaneous, it's budgeted at $150,000 for 2017, but the year-to-date total is only $12,612.
We still feel there's some of those certs still out there. That's the cert line. So we feel they're still out there. They could be coming in, so we didn't want to cut that line short because you never know when they're filing. So we've cut it over the years, so we left it at that number. We figure it's still a pretty safe number to be at.
Okay, and
It was $200,000 in 16.
Right, I understand that. It's just that this year, as of October, it's $12,612, so it wasn't clear about.
There's a couple still floating out there, so we don't want to cut ourselves short.
Okay, and let's see. So the police budget for overtime, if I'm reading this correctly, there's about a $98,000 increase in overtime. So do you know why are they short on headcount, or do you know what accounts for that increase?
I'm trying to remember. Chief,
I mean,
do you remember?
and the amount is still low compared to, like,
Yeah.
let's say, overtime for the Arlington Fire District, which is $2.5 million.
We consider ourselves a little bit.
$500,000 for the police is still low, comparatively speaking. But I just wondered why the increase of $98,000.
Yeah, I had requested more. We're anticipating several retirements during the year. And when that happens, generally we're having people work on overtime until we can fill those spots. Also, we're going to be doing a significant amount of training when we make this transition over to New World, this new records management and CAD system. I would imagine some of that's going to have to be done on overtime. They're not going to be able to do that when they're on patrol. So that's two of the reasons why we made that increase request.
Okay, thank you. And like I said, the overall overtime budget for the police department, I think, is still relatively low.
Yeah, it is going down
other
every year. Yeah, I knew one. I couldn't remember the other reason.
Okay. Several things. A fund, account number 2770, the miscellaneous revenue year to date is $103,901, but for 2017 it's showing $17K.
looking at it.
Why don't we have Charles come up? Maybe.
Charlie's
I mean, I can just hand these in if you'd
No,
like.
no, we'll give you an answer tonight.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have the answer.
What happened this year? We did an audit on the electricity, and the company came back and found there would be an overcharge on poles and whatnot. We had a one-time shot of it was 140,000 actually, but we had their 30%.
Okay.
We netted 102, so it was a one-shot deal. We're not expecting that next year.
Okay, and let's see. And then I also had a question on the, there was an interfund transfer, A Fund 9910, account 5031, and that was $400,000 for 2016, and for 2017 it's $500K.
Yes, that's money that gets transferred from the water department. There's like, I don't want to say a charge, but they work on their enterprise system for all the administration and almost like a pilot for all their properties and whatnot. We can tax them, but we don't tax. We just do an interfund transfer. So it's up this year. Yes, we did an analysis of how much we're paying or how much time is allocated to the water department and their properties. So.
Okay, I'm not sure I really understand. Maybe I can ask you about that later.
Okay.
And then another interfund transfer for water and sewer. That's almost $1 million difference. That was the S Fund 9901 account 5031. For 2016, it was $4.2 million, and now for 2017, it's $3.2 million.
Okay, that's the special districts. Special districts get taxed, and then it gets transferred in from all the special districts on money that's taxed for operation and maintenance. And some of it also was debt service. Debt is being paid down, so we don't have as much, which really helped with the budget this year. We paid off a bond, actually several bonds this year that were carrying like a 7% interest rate that are all paid off now. So the debt service has dropped, so the transfer is not as much.
Okay. And then on the B Fund, the sales tax distribution, it's about $50,000 more than 2016. It's $2,075,000. But year to date, the number is only about $1.2 million. So I was wondering how the $2,075,000 was projected.
They're behind as far as the building process goes and giving us our money. We're locked into
Is that the county?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're locked into that certain amount, and every year when we go over that amount, we get a check in like March or April. And the 1 year when we had the energy tax, it was over $200,000, and we thought the next year would go down. It actually went up. Okay. So we felt very conservatively getting that $200,000 check the last 2 years in a row. We felt comfortable putting $50,000 of that in there, knowing that we'd be getting it. We didn't want to go for like 200 or 250, so we figured a very low profile number after the first 2 years.
Okay. And then the comptroller's overtime for year-to-date 2016 is only $900 so far, and $5,000 was budgeted for overtime in 2017. I was wondering why it went up to that amount, or why that amount was budgeted.
To be honest, it was budgeted $30,000, but again, from what I understand, that was transferred over to the courts. I just kept the $5,000 in there to see what happens this year. Okay. If we don't use it, obviously I'll drop it. Yeah. But I didn't know if there was anything coming down the pike or something that I missed. Excuse me. So there's like a placeholder for this year.
What's going on, Doreen, is we're trying to get a better picture of exactly what the costs are in the town court. So the transfers went in, where before those sections of that department were paid for out of...
Oh, yeah, for years I've been seeing that there was overtime for the comptroller's office, which was not being used, and that zero was budgeted for the court system, and yet the court system always had overtime.
That was a way to keep control on it.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, so even though it's only $900 for this year, you just basically, to be on the safe side, did $5,000 for the first year to see what happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Try to be as tight as possible. We don't want to fall and miss something.
Okay, and I think the last thing I have, let's see, on here was the, highway longevity. The amount requested for 2017 was $2,850, but you actually budgeted $7,150. So again, that's almost, well, not quite, but almost 3 times as much as they requested.
Well, next year, several employees will hit their longevity amounts. So he was basically looking at last year's, but when I went down through the list and looked at who's going to hit their 9 years or who's going to move up into their 3rd year, this is the actual number.
Okay.
We double-checked the numbers to make sure we're...
All right. And actually, I did have one more. On snow removal, so $100,000 is contracted, under contracted services for 2017. So exactly who does that get paid to?
All the contractors, they use a lot of small pickup trucks and so forth to do the intersections, the cul-de-sacs, and so forth. For a lot of neighborhoods, they can't get in a cul-de-sac. There's 4 or 5 different contractors he has on a list that he uses and vends them out for that.
Okay, so year to date so far has been $13,000, and I'm guessing that's because really not any snow in
Keep your
January,
fingers
February,
crossed.
March of this year, and you just want to be
Keep
sure
your
for.
fingers crossed.
Okay. All right, so I will hand this in, but thank you for answering those questions.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Nobody else? Make a motion to resume the rules?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Lepore, who basically took over the Finance Committee. He worked with Mr. Carlos on this, and we've interfaced back and forth. Thought we had pretty tight numbers, and the other day the healthcare numbers came in a little higher than we thought, so we had to go back and make some readjustments to pull those numbers together because we didn't feel comfortable just leaving them in there, so we had to come back and find another $60-some thousand to cover the increase of medical. That was 8%, that went up to 10.4%. So Joe and Charlie sat down the other day with the help from some of the department heads, and they dug back through the budget and found some more money.
Yeah. So basically, when the budget, and if I can answer this question, is that we leave sometimes additional money on the budget because then it's always good to find and move money around so it's there. One of the things was that when we budget the medical insurance, we budget for 8%, and then we got hit by 10.4%. So Charles has done a great job, but leaving a couple dollars here and there, so at the end of the year we could, accumulate and put them in the places where it's needed. So some of the budget change that, again, this year that we worked on and made the change was the medical insurance. We got hit, again, like I said, 10.4% when we budget for 8%. So we had to look for another additional $60,000 for that. This is across the board for everybody, for, business and anybody that runs, there's a budget. Pay increase was not budget. We didn't budget for an increase for the town supervisor, so we took some money out of there. We also found some money into the grant writer, which we didn't use as much as we budget last year. So again, that's another extra that we could take it and move it someplace else where we need it.
You also, in that line, Joe, that's where that actuarial form was that Charlie went through last week and found. So that was where some of that money came.
Yep.
That was $9,000.
The tax collector, part-time, we took some, because they didn't use it much of the hours and the money, so we took some money out of there as well.
$5,000.
Yep, $5,000 for that. We also looked some material and supplies in the auto center, and we noticed that whoever's running the shop, they did a pretty good job maintaining the cost of supplies, so we didn't have much supplies, so we took money out of that line item. The dog warden did not get an increase because of the title, so we took some money out of there as well.
Dog warden wasn't getting out of title pay.
Yep. The chief Spiro, did a great job by reducing the radio contract, worked with the company that we use, so we got some money out of there as well. And also we saved some money to purchase police cars, so that money will put them in the next year budget. We also collected and found some interest and penalties from tax clerks, which we generated about $35,000 out of that, which was some money that, we found. And the good news that, the tax levy is below, just a little bit below 0.159.
0.59.
0.59, correct. So just to answer the question to the board is that, it's not an easy thing to do the budget, but Charles being here only 6 months, Charlotte, and was counting anyway, jumped right in the budget. We looked at the budget. We asked every department heads to give us something. Everybody did a great job, the best we could. I think I'm proud to say that this budget is really good. Considering other towns and cities and villages, I think we're in good shape as far as our budget. And I want to thank Charles, and I also want to thank Councilman Carlos, because he helped. He jumped in one day to help me out. After that, you have questions from the board, or?
Well, Joe, just a little better explanation. The tax, the clerk's office, we collect the penalties that we pay, any late penalties. The town gets that penalty, whether it's school tax or town tax. And when we discussed it with the the tax collector early on in the year, we asked her what her total was, and she said, $200,000. So we thought we were going to be under. So we cut that out. She never told us the school end of it. And the school came in this week, so that's where the extra $35,000 came from. That's what was budgeted last year, but we didn't want to go over and, overestimate something there, so we went on the cautious end and took it out. Then we found out yesterday that that number was wrong. She left out the school tax, so we added it back in there. So we collected, there's a penalty. Just remember, if you're paying your taxes and you're going to be late, we prefer the penalty over the credit card because we keep the penalties. It helps out a lot, and in the long run, it's cheaper than what the credit card's going to charge you. So if you're going to be late, save it. And as far as the police vehicle goes, we met with the chief multiple times, and he's going to take some of the money he squeezed out of his budget this year to purchase one of his vehicles, so he's not losing a vehicle. So we were able to move that around and save the money for that. And in that Comco contract basically fell through the loophole as we were finishing up the budget. We were signing that Comco contract, and he cut some money off that, so that made it a lot easier to get that $4,000 out of there.
So we were able to find the $60,000 that MVP got us at the 11th hour. So
yeah. And that's the bad thing. It comes in every year at the same hour. The only one that comes in early is night shift comes in. They give you an estimated number. We went with their number, and then MVP comes in at 10.4. So it's a big nut to crack for $60,000. Town is big to come in at the last minute, but thank Joe, Charlie, and the rest of the staff that helped go back to the budget in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
You can read these off if you want.
Read the rest
Yeah,
of it?
you can read them. Joe, you have to read them all off.
Okay.
So you guys can decide if you're going to.
So are we make voting for this, or do I have to?
You vote for this, then we vote for the budget.
Are you voting? So move, change, or just vote? Just
You have to read them all from
Okay.
the bottom line of what we have all listed there.
So, so the change again, medical insurance, which I'll read the numbers, are A9060-0921, the amount of $60,000 increase. Found appropriate supervisor salary, A1220-0101, an increase $2,362. Supervisor social security, again, A1220-0811, 138 increase. Supervisor contract service, A1220-0481, $9,000 decrease. Revenue, tax collector, interest and penalties, A1330-1090, $35,000 increase. Controller, property tax, B1315-1001, $15,000 decrease. Appropriated tax collector, part-time, A1330-0112, $5,000 decrease. Auto center, material and supplies, A1640-0431, $6,500 decrease. Police, auto title, B31200101, $3,000 decrease. Police rental communication equipment, B3120-0431, $4,000 decrease. Police motor vehicles, B3120-023, $15,000 decrease. So move.
Second, we're on the budget items. All those in favor?
Aye.
You want the resolution now?
We can read them off and then we go through the resolution.
Okay, so I'll do the resolution. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie adopted its preliminary budget for the year 2017 on October 19, 2016, and whereas the legal notice of public hearing was posted on October 21st, 2016, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on October 25th, 2016, and whereas a public hearing was held on November 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby close the public hearing in regards to the adoption of the preliminary budget and amends as it adopts the budget modifications of the preliminary budget presented by the Controller and does adopt the preliminary budget as so modified as the town's 2017 budget. So moved.
Mr. Carlos and Mr. Chairman, do you want to add in reference there in the third to last line that on motion of J. Lepore, seconded by W. Carlos, it was amended for nothing?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So amended. Joe Conti, who sits to my left,
We want to do
was on vacation.
a motion on the amendment.
Oh, we have to do that first?
You already voted on it.
Already voted on it.
And I'm just referencing the amendment
Okay, all right.
in
Okay.
this.
All right, go ahead.
So we're under comment on the resolution. Joe, who sits to my left, his full-time job, he can't get any time off in the spring, the summer, and through the winter. And he had to miss this, and he asked that we make a comment that he was in full support of the budget and wanted to thank all of the individuals who worked on it for the town. So I just did that.
And I apologize for that. I should be more explaining about why Mr. Carlos was part of the finance committee, and because Joe Conti could not attend. So,
We have a motion. And a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thanks, everybody, for working on the budget. And the overall, when they got done today, going through the changes, it was another $15,000 we took off the
I second.
final line.
Joe, second.
I second, Jim.
Pardon me.
That comes the end of our,
No, we have another.
one more public hearing.
Yep.
Second public hearing is Town Code Amendment Chapter 195, stop signs on Schoolhouse and Croft Road, brought by Mr. Lepore. We have a motion to suspend the rules for this one.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here to discuss the stop signs and Schoolhouse and Croft Road? Nobody? Make a motion to resume rules. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Be enacted, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, persuade to a public hearing held on the second day of November 2016 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Does hereby amend the Town Code, Chapter 195, entitled Vehicle and Traffic, especially 195-44, Schedule 9, stop intersection, which amendment will be as follows. Add 195-44, Schedule 9, stop intersections. Stop sign, Schoolhouse Lane, direction of travel, east, and the intersection of Croft Road. Be further enacted, the legal notice of public hearing was posted on October 21st, 2016, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on October 28, 2016, and be further enacted that the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does determine this action as a Type 2 action requiring no environmental review, and be further enacted that said local law shall become effective immediately upon filing with Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any questions on this one?
This was another good thing about students at
Spack and Kill.
Kill. So it was. I want to thank the chief and Sergeant Albright.
Yeah, agreed. And Spack and Kill, the PTA and the staff over at Spack and Kill, I think they worked good on this so far to try to make it a little safer for the students walking between Spack and Kill High School and the junior high down there.
Yep.
We motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Come to the end of our public hearings. Now we have our agenda. It's a rather short agenda. First thing on the agenda is set date for public hearing for Hudson Heritage. Authorize Deputy to sign Dutchess County Grant Police Computer Aided Dispatch Upgrade. Authorize Deputy Supervisor to sign documents to effectuate a grant award, the 2014 Burn JAG Grant. 6, authorize the Deputy Supervisor to sign documents to effectuate a grant Police Traffic Service Program Award. 7, accept the certificate of attendance of Carl Whitehead from the Planning Board. 8, consent lead agency at 33 Arlington Avenue, built parcel 5. 9, authorize Deputy Supervisor to sign memorandum of understanding with Vassar College. 10, approve Arlington Business Improvement District Holiday Parade. 11, authorize the Deputy Supervisor to sign Pullman Car Wash Agreement. Number 12, authorize Deputy Supervisor to sign documents to effectuate grant acceptance of shared service crisis intervention training. 13, authorize the Deputy Supervisor to sign change order for snow removal IMA with the county. One special consent or no?
Yeah, number 9. Yeah.
And there's one special consent there, authorize Deputy Supervisor to sign a stipulation with Fairview Fire versus the town, Dahlia et al. With that said, I'd like the motion to suspend the rules for public comment on agenda items and agenda items only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does anybody like to discuss an agenda item? Come on up, Doreen.
So I have a question and a comment on special consent item number 1. You know, I've mentioned this before, but I don't know if the board can consider having a cutoff date so that things are not added to the agenda at the last minute. The public doesn't know they're going to be on there. There's really no visibility. Like right before I came to the meeting, I checked online and I did not see, as of then, the special consent item listed. So if you were interested in that one, the Fairview Fire District versus the town and Dahlia et al., you wouldn't even know that that was going to be discussed tonight. Now, on the other hand, if you knew enough to look at the information packet that was posted, down at the bottom of the information packet, there was something pertaining to this special consent item. But again, I don't know why there can't be like if everything isn't in by Friday, then.
We have a cutoff for most things, Doreen, and we've actually held back quite a few. Unless it's something we think that it's a finalization of a suit or something that has to be imperative, we've held back quite a few. But I'll bring it up again because we've held out quite a few for the next agenda already. I mean, we're trying to keep most of them out.
Okay. And then also in the information packet, while there was the resolution for the special consent item number 1, the actual stipulation of settlement wasn't in there. So can you give us a brief?
Yeah. The suggestion that this be brought before the town board was called in to me this morning. And this lawsuit has been going on along with other lawsuits relating to the fire district for some time. What Ron Blass, who's one of my partners who defended the town in this, did was he abstracted what I believe to be the most important part of that stipulation and incorporated it right in the resolution. You're certainly welcome to look at the stipulation. But what that language says is essentially that the town is party to settling this lawsuit on the condition and understanding that all of the agreements, especially as they relate to money, are between the developer and the fire district, and that the town is not going to change any of its proceedings, the town's not going to change any of its processes, the town isn't going to be paying any money. So the intention...
So there's no cost to the town?
No, other than the opportunity to participate in the lawsuit. But as far as the...
as a result of the stipulation, there's no cost, additional cost?
No.
Okay. All right. And then the other thing which I talked to Mr. Baisley about today is that, as of like noontime, the agenda item number 9, the memorandum of understanding with Vassar College. That's where the town is going to be using soil that's on the Vassar farm right now from the Vassar College site. I had concerns because some of the soil samples, or at least one, looked like it contained mercury, DDT, and DDE contaminants. And while there were references to test results and sampling locations, while that information was referenced, it wasn't posted on the website. So again, if you wanted to look at the test results, they were referenced but not contained in there. So, and that was as of like noon today. But Mr. Baisley did see that it got posted this afternoon. But again, it really doesn't give a lot of time for people to review the results. So if things can be posted earlier, that would be better.
We'll work on that.
Okay, thank you. And just, so how is that, I know the highway department is going to be using that soil, so, and the fact that there are some contaminants in there.
Sewer department's going to be using it.
Oh, sewer? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was highway.
No,
I
sewer.
thought it said for roads in one of the.
Yeah, sewer's using it to do the road over by your house.
Okay, so, yeah, right. Well, I figured.
I didn't mean it that way during
I figured anything going on like that is going to happen around there. So the fact that there's, again, one of the samples contained mercury, DDT, and DDE, and there is so it's solely going to be used there?
Yeah, you want to come and answer this? Yeah, they're in the may use part of it in a project up around Falk Hill. They have to build a road to do sewer lines.
Okay.
They'll do a TV and consent order work, so they're using some of it in there.
Yeah, the contaminant levels came in, well below any action levels required, and particularly given the use of the soil for road construction, as opposed to putting it down on like somebody's lawn where you're likely to have people using the lawn for recreation, whatever. So there was no need for additional sampling or mitigation, as it were. But the soil is solely to create the roads to allow the sewer department to get into various areas so that they can TV the sewer lines that we have, both in up on Creek Road as well as the Arlington sewer. So, and that's all part of the DEC consent order.
Okay, and so the fact that those are near wetland areas, again, I didn't have time to review all the test results once they were finally posted. There are different restrictions if you're using it for restricted, non-restricted areas, and so how about the levels as far as groundwater?
Again, not a problem.
No, not a problem. All right. Well, I will review those and then get back to the board if I see anything of concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Is there anybody else who would like to discuss any agenda items? If not, make a motion to resume rules.
Second.
Okay.
Whereas EFG DRA Heritage LLC, EFG DRA, is the owner of approximately 160-acre site of the former Hudson River State Hospital on Route 9 in the town of Poughkeepsie, the site, and whereas the site is located in the Historic Revitalization Development District, HRDD, under the Town Code of the Town of Poughkeepsie, Town Code, and whereas EFG DRA is proposing various amendments to the HRDD regulations in the town code and proposing to redevelop the site as a mixed-use, pedestrian-friendly, residential and commercial development, collectively the project, and whereas on June 5th, 2015, EFG DRA provided the town board with a development master plan application, petition for a zoning amendment petition, and a long environmental assessment form, EAF Part 1, setting forth technical details pertaining to the potential environmental impacts of the project, and whereas by resolution adopted on June 17, 2015, the Town Board referred the application and petition to the Town Planning Board for review and comment pursuant to New York State and town law requirements, and whereas by resolution adopted on June 22, 2015, the Town Board designated itself lead agency for review of the project under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, pursuant to 6 NYCRR Section 617.6, and pursuant to a positive declaration requiring preparation of environmental impact statement, EIS, pursuant to 6 NYCRR Section 617.7, and whereas on September 19, 2015, the Town Board held a public scoping session to identify potentially significant adverse environmental impacts related to the project that are to be addressed in the EIS, and therefore accepted written comment through August 31, 2015, and whereas the Town Board adopted a final scope in accordance to 6 NYCRR Section 617.8 on September 16, 2015, and whereas EFG DRA submitted a draft environmental impact statement for the Hudson Heritage Project, the DEIS, to the Town Board on October 25, 2016, and whereas the Town Board, its independent consultants, and special counsel reviewed the DEIS to determine whether to accept it as adequate with respect to its scope and content for the purpose of commencing public review pursuant to 6 NYCRR Section 617.9A2. And whereas, having received a complete development master plan application and zoning petition, the Town Board must conduct a public hearing on both items pursuant to sections 210-66 and 210-153 of the Town Zoning Code. Now therefore be resolved that 1. The Town Board hereby determines that the information submitted in the DEIS is complete and adequate with respect to its scope content for the purpose of commencing public review pursuant to 6 NYCRR Section 617.9A2. 2. The Town Board shall conduct a public hearing of the DEIS, the application and the petition on December 7, 2016 at Town Hall, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, 12603 at 7 p.m., where public comment will be heard regarding said item. 3. The Town Board directs the DEIS and the attached notice of completion and notice of public hearing for the DEIS relative to the project shall be filed, published, and circulated in accordance with the requirements of 6 NYCRR Section 617.9 and 617.12, notifying the public, among other things, that the Town Board shall hold a public hearing on the DEIS on December 7, 2016 at Town Hall, 1 Over Rock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, 12603 at 7 p.m., where public comment will be heard regarding the DEIS, and 2. Written comment on the DEIS are requested as of November 3, 2016, and will be accepted by the Town Board for at least 10 days following the close of the public hearing. 4. The Town Board hereby directs the appropriate town staff to arrange to 1. Publish a notice of completion and notice of public hearing at least 14 calendar days in advance of the hearing date in the newspaper of general circulation, as well as publish such notices as required in the Environmental Notice Bulletin, ENB. 2. Have copies of the DEIS filed with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Office of town clerk for review. 3, have a copy of the DEIS, notice of completion, and notice of public hearing circulated to all involved and interested agencies. And 4, have the DEIS posted on the city's
Should read town.
towns, on the town's website at http://www.TOWNOFPOUGHKEEPSIE.com. And 5, the town board hereby directs the appropriate town staff in conjunction with the EFG DRA to arrange pursuant to New York State and town law that the proper notification be distributed to the public and all required municipal and governmental agencies, indicating that the town board will conduct a public hearing on December 7th, 2016, concerning the application and petition. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions on this one? Prior to public? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good to see everybody.
Pleasure.
But, well, we just wanted to take an opportunity to sort of explain, sort of put some meat on the bones, as it were, in terms of what this next step in the process is. The public hearing is sort of in the middle of the public comment period, but we're starting that as of tomorrow. The DEIS will be posted on the website. We have copies that have been distributed. Stu Messenger from Chazen has been great to work with. He's in the audience tonight, as is George Carpani from DRA. Nina Peak from AKRF is here if the board has any particular technical questions that it may want to ask, understanding that you have not probably had an opportunity to review the document. It's voluminous. It's very large.
Where do you start?
It's a bit of a challenge. So, but what we have done in concert with George and Stu is to break it down into manageable bites. It's running something on the order of around 600 pages in multiple volumes. But when you go to the website, you will find that you can download the traffic section separately from the flora and fauna section.
Okay.
So you don't have to download the whole thing. Otherwise, it's an enormous document. It's
And
really
I take it there's some sort of overview where you can go in and select which pieces you want to look at.
Yeah, you can do a search, but I'm kind of referring more to the appendices if you want to really kind of get into the meat of it. My expectation is that for the most part, people will be reading the draft EIS itself, which is sort of this. It summarizes the technical analyses and puts it into layman's terms as to what the impacts were and what the mitigation will be. And for the most part, that's my expectation, is that people will not be reading the appendices unless they have a particular interest in maybe an expertise in traffic or cultural resources or something like that. But one of the things that we have sort of anticipated. Now, the public hearing will be noticed for December 7th.
Right.
We're not going to presume that the town board will close it that night. You may find it necessary or desirable to adjourn it to the following Wednesday. You have 2 meetings in December on successive Wednesdays, on the 7th and the 14th. The public notice, this resolution talks about a public comment period remaining open no less than 10 days after the close of the public hearing, and that's pursuant to seeker. What we're actually anticipating is allowing 14 days. So in other words, if you close the public hearing on the 7th, the comment period would end on the 21st. If you adjourn it and then close it on the 14th, the comment period would close on the 28th, and give everybody plenty of time coming away from those meetings or meeting to be able to provide comment. So, David, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything.
The other things I would add is obviously not only will your board be commenting, and I should back up by saying you have professionals and experts who are here, Nina and her staff, as well as our team, who will be going through the appendices and doing all the nitty-gritty work. Questions that you have, obviously, that's what we're here for, to answer those questions. So obviously you should present them to us, and we can go through the technical data and give it to you. The purpose of the DEIS itself, not the appendices, is really to be a document that the public can understand. But even DEISs get technical because they have to. I mean, the good thing is that we're making a good record for your board and to make sure that this project is put through the ringer before anything is finalized. As part of that, and what you should realize, and I think you probably do, is that the purpose of the comment period is then the applicant will take all of those comments and compile them, literally compile them and answer them in a systematic method in what will be a final EIS. But that's I'm getting ahead of myself, but that will be what sort of the goal of this next step is. The other thing that your board should be aware of is that the applicant is pursuing a zoning amendment as well as a development master plan, which ultimately will be before your board to adopt or take any action you want to. Your code, as well as the New York State town law, requires various public hearings and referrals on both of those items. You know that you are engaged in a development agreement with the applicant, and I think we all sort of share the agreement that we want to move this process expeditiously or as expeditiously as we can. And so one of the ways that I think we've all agreed that we can do that is compiling as many public hearings as we can if you're legally allowed to. So not only will the DEIS hearing be a secret hearing, but it will also be hearing on the zoning amendment as well as the development master plan. Now, really, the DEIS covers that and everything else associated with the project. So technically, you're not really going to be picking out statements or during the public hearing. Well, that's for one hearing, that's for another. But the purpose is that so that you're still following all of your procedural requirements. So you're also asking staff to notify. There's going to be a lot of notices going out. A lot of them probably duplicative, but that's what happens. So that those hearings can occur as well.
Do you want to talk a little bit, just very quickly? I know the board wants to move on, but tonight the board is declaring the document as complete. It doesn't mean that you necessarily agree with what is in the document. All it is a statement that says that the scoping document said that they had to address these 100 things. Did they answer the question? You may not agree with the answer, but that's where the substantive review comments come in, and that's what we're asking the public to weigh in on. So, in other words, at this particular point, based on David's review, Nina's review, and my review, and Eric's, we believe that the document is complete, that they have addressed the questions in the scope, and it's time to now move on for the substantive portion of the review.
Right.
And so the next set of comments, and you will likely see comments from the public saying, well, we don't agree this is complete. That's you've already determined it complete as of tonight. They just may not agree with the answer, and the board may not agree with the answer. One of the other things that we will have to discuss going forward is you as board members have an opportunity to comment individually as well as a board, and we will be talking to the planning board about this in the next few weeks as well, asking for their input and compiling comments and questions that they may have.
It's as you're reading the resolution and you see how many 6 NYCRR sections there are, it is a systematic process, and so at this point, really, we've been hitting sort of procedural processes. Now the fun starts, and the review, actually, the public review, your review really starts.
Yeah. But and it's a good point, because the public wants to know, we want to know, and this is a major project, and it would be nice also to have even maybe George to give us some updates how the construction is going, any issues and things of that nature. So we want to be informed, so is the public. Would like to know.
Typically, and I don't want to speak for the applicant, but typically before the public hearing is sort of open, or the mic is open for the public, the applicant will give a presentation, sort of an overview of the DEIS, but more an overview of the project and the steps that we've taken so far. So certainly, that would be that would be a good time for that type of update to occur.
And just that, hold it as point 2, 3, or 4. The public doesn't understand that, so we need more specific, into the details in English. At the end of the day. So.
Right. And there have been some changes to the original concept plan that was submitted last year, and those are online. Those are available for review. But that will be something that George and Nick, as part of the presentation before you open the public hearing December 7th, will cover. They'll talk about that. Thank you. As well as some of the other items that because there are ongoing investigations that they're doing. They're still doing asbestos surveys in the other buildings. They've taken some of the buildings down. There's an awful lot more work to be done. So I'm certain, in another month when we have that public hearing, George will have a much better update for us.
So the update will happen before we open the public hearing?
Yeah, typically
not part of the public hearing.
Well, it's part of the package. But typically, the applicant will come forward, make a presentation, take 15, 20 minutes, a half hour, whatever it is, and at which point then the floor is open for comment. And you may find it necessary. I'm expecting, we had a pretty full house for the scoping session. I'm expecting that we will have a full house for the comments section as well. You may find it necessary to limit the comments to 3, 5 minutes, whatever it is. I know it's not the board's typical practice, but if we have a full house, you may find we need to do that.
Practice, written comments can be made too. Which sometimes written comments are easier to file.
Right. We encourage it, and honestly, from the standpoint of making those comments available to the extent that we can get them, we can either scan them in or get them electronically. We'll post them immediately to the website. I've spent a lot of time in the past couple of days sort of revising that section of the town website. If you go there now, actually as of yesterday, it was just sort of a whole bunch of documents that were sort of unorganized. So we spent a lot of time organizing the various folder sections so that you can find things more easily by topic. But the comments that we receive, the written comments, and then the transcript, we'll make arrangements for a stenographer to be there on December 7th and the 14th if necessary. All of that will be posted then to the website.
It's a huge project. So, the fact that the team we have isn't our normal in-house team. We have a lot more expert along the line. So hopefully so far it's going very smooth. There's going to be a lot of input from a lot of different angles. It's not typically, usually you get small development, just your homeowners, but here it's your homeowners, people, historical societies are interested in, you got the schools there, you got the fire departments, there's a lot of different bodies that all want to be interested because it's probably the biggest project we've undertaken in years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I just sort of want to step out. George and Stu have been great to work with through this process. There's been a lot of give and take and back and forth over the past several months to get to this point. But Nina and her crew in particular, have really thrown their resources and their expertise at the problem, which is the review of this voluminous document and understanding, where are the substantive comments that we need to generate ultimately on behalf of the town versus the completeness questions, is this complete or not? And I can't speak highly enough of Nina and her work and the folks in her office as well as David to get us to this point. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes. You just don't see it. Yeah. And frankly, it's a massive job and not one that we could have handled in-house with our normal planning staff. So I want to say thank you very much to David and Nina for all their efforts.
Although Neil is leading the charge, that should also be on the record. We are all lucky to be working with Neil as well.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. So we're off to the races. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby authorized the Deputy Supervisor to execute Dutchess County 2016 Municipal Consolidation and Shared Services Grant Application and any further documents to effectuate a grant award for projects entitled Law Enforcement Computer-Aided Dispatch Upgrade and Consolidation in the amount of $280,000. So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any questions on this? Just so everyone knows, this is the Tyler upgrade to the police department, and cost, as I've stated multiple times, was $400-some thousand, and we've got $280,000 off that so far. We have other grants outstanding, so hopefully this will be a large help to our budget line.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chief. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Resolution 5, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie hereby authorize the Deputy Supervisor or his designee to execute all papers necessary and proper to effectuate a grant award known as FFY 2014 Byrne JAG Grant from the State of New York Division of Criminal Justice Services in the amount of $9,744, which funds will be used by the Police Department to purchase equipment used for the video recording system of statements and this grant must be used by September 30th, 2017. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize Deputy Supervisor on his designee to execute all papers necessary and proper to effectuate a grant award known as Police Traffic Service Program Grant from the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee in the amount of $14,690.00, which funds will be used by the Police Department for enhanced enforcement of seatbelts usage and reduction of dangerous driving behaviors. It must be used by September 30th, 2017. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept the certificate of attendance for Carl H. Whitehead from Dutchess County Planning Federation for the course entitled Supporting Agriculture with Community Planning, held on October 4th, 2016, a copy of which is attached. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? Thank Carl for attending this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes
Let me read this one.
4-0. Go ahead.
Resolution number 8, be resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby consent the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board acting as seeker leader agency for the project known as 33 Arlington Avenue, build parcel 5, amended site plan 33 Arlington Avenue and Van Wagner Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, tax parcel number 6161-08-8692, 8920 and 864945. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the Deputy Supervisor or his designee to execute a memorandum of understanding on behalf of the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie with Vassar College, 124 Raymond Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York, for the town's removal and disposal of soil from Vassar Farm in substantially the form presented. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
How much dirt are we talking about? A lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to build 2 roads, a lot.
Yeah. But Vassar's also paying us $15,000.
They're paying us for the loader and the storage that help get off the property.
So this sounds like it's going to be beneficial for both.
Yeah.
And this work is all being done in the Vassar Farms area?
There's a sewer line that runs from there down to all the sewer line.
Yeah.
They haven't been back there and worked on lines in years. There's a consent order to clean lines, clean them all out and stuff. We have a contractor that's working with us on it. So that's part of that, and part of it's up in the Folk area, the same thing. They have to get to the woods because they haven't been touched in years. So you actually have to build a road to get in there because it's been years since everybody's been back there.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby approve the application submitted by Bob Legacy on behalf of the Arlington Business Improvement District and does hereby grant approval to the Arlington Business Improvement District to hold a holiday parade on Saturday, December 3rd, 2016 between 4 and 5 p.m., which parade application requests the closures of Main Street from Fowler Avenue, Raymond Avenue from Main Street to College View and Fulton Avenue. And be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby approve the application for said parade as submitted pending receipt of a certificate of liability insurance naming the Town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured. So moved.
Second.
Motion second.
Yeah, they also said too that they're still looking for people to march in the parade and for floats. If anybody's interested, you can go to Arlington Has It website and application there, or well, you can call me or you can call Bob Legacy too. So.
It actually starts earlier. There's other events going on.
Yeah, it's a whole day that they're going to put next to Craft a Cup there on Raymond. There's actually going to be a Santa's Village with shopping, and they're going to have an eggnog crawl where you can go and sample eggnogs at the different places.
Not just the parade, but a little event for the day.
And then the parade is going to end on the Vassar lawn, and there's going to be Santa there and caroling and giving candy canes to the kids. So it's going to be an all-day activity. And this is the first time they've attempted a holiday parade. So
Very nice.
Mark Pfeiffer will be reaching out. He's going to be doing a lot with the parade.
Yes.
And he touched base with Brian in Recreation. Recreation will be lending his hands to get all the organizations locally that he knows, whether it's bands or baseball, Little League, softball, anybody to join in on the parade. So we've lended Brian's hand over to try to help coordinate and make it a little bigger parade.
yeah, and he's also been finding some fire engines to be in it too. So
We have a motion second. All those in favor?
aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Resolution 11, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the Deputy Supervisor to sign a vehicle cleaning agreement with Bar Right Enterprises, Inc., DBA Foam and Wash Car Wash, for the entire Town Police Department fleet as required by the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department for the period of January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017. A copy of Chief Spiro's memo along with a proposal is attached. And be it further resolved that Bar Right Enterprises, DBA Foam and Wash Car Wash, has proposed to continue to provide the services at the rate of $750 per month, and the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie finds the solicitation of alternate proposals for these services would be not in the best interests of the town. So moved.
Second?
The motion second. Any question on this one?
Yeah, I just want to, if it's possible, just put a little bit in from the chief's memorandum, because I think it's good for the public to hear what actually this is. Foam Wash is the only service that allows the police department access to two separate locations, one in Arlington and one on the South Road. This has a positive impact on department operations via reduction to work time, fuel mileage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's, by dealing with Bar Right, there's two north and south end locations. Best interest of the town.
And they did very good to us on top of that.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Be resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize Deputy Supervisor and or is designate to execute all paper necessary and proper to effectuate a grant award known as the 2015 Municipal Consolidation Shared Service Grant, Crisis Intervention Training, in the amount of $25,800.00, which funds will be used by the Police Department for 50% of overtime costs associated with officers attending crisis intervention training. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
This crisis intervention training is getting significant praise all over. It's training each individual officer in how to respond to people who have emotional or mental problems, rather than have to graduate up the force scale to be doing it. They're trained in how to not make it any worse and to deal with the person. It's a great thing.
Good. Wonderful. So moved.
So moved.
Yeah. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye. Whereas by Resolution 12-3- of 2014, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie approved the execution of an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Dutchess to participate in the Regional County Highway Snow and Ice Control Program, within the boundaries of the town, and whereas participation in the program under which the county will supply controlled materials and reimburse the town for its labor and equipment use will result in more appropriate inclement weather response times, thereby enhancing the overall safety of the town residents and those who travel through the town. Now therefore be resolved that the Deputy Supervisor has forwarded a change order extension to said intermunicipal agreement from the county to the town's participation in the program, and the town board does hereby authorize the Deputy Supervisor to execute said change order extension. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? I just think this is another great shared service where, crossing roads, it doesn't always work. We met with the county. They said there's sometimes you may think, why aren't we doing this county road? It has to work with their routes too. So sometimes it works in our favor, and sometimes don't. They've done a really good job. And Lisa over in Highway and getting the paperwork in on this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's only smart. I mean, it doesn't make sense for them to come and plow one little road here, one little road there, when we're there anyways.
Yeah, and he said sometimes you look at a road and you say, why aren't you doing this one? Because they can't keep cutting their route short either. So they have to be able to have a route too. So sometimes it doesn't work. But so far it's worked, and this is our second year in this program. So Mark's done a good job reaching out to them, and it's worked out well. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie hereby grants special consent to the following items to wit. 1, authorize Deputy Supervisor to sign stipulation, Fairview Fire versus Town, Dahlia et al. Legal. Be it further resolved that upon the objection of any member of the Town Board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
The motion is second on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution Special Consent 1. Whereas the Poughkeepsie Town Board has received a stipulation of settlement of the action named Fairview Fire District versus the Town of Poughkeepsie and Dahlia, and whereas the following clause of stipulation sets forth the position of the Town of Poughkeepsie. A. The town respondents enter into the stipulation of settlement for the sole purpose of obtaining a withdrawal of the appeal pending from the dismissal order of the Supreme Court, Dutchess County, and a stipulation of discontinuance with prejudice of the claims asserted against the town respondents. Town respondents assume no obligations to other parties. B. By entering into the stipulation, the town respondents, A. assume no obligation to other parties. B. assume no duty to perform or to refrain from performance of any actions under the stipulation of settlement, as the terms of performance are established solely and exclusively as between the petitioner, Fire District, and the respondent, Dahlia. C. Do not vouch for, approve, or disapprove any of the terms or conditions of the stipulation of settlement established as between the Fire District and Dahlia. C. The functions and administration of town government are not modified or affected by the stipulation of settlement, including but not limited to A. The future legislative authority of the town board with respect to the Dahlia project. B. The future administrative authority of the planning board with respect to the Dahlia project. C. The administration of state and local building codes in terms of issuance of building permits, certificates of occupancy for the Dahlia project, and the town assessor's assessment of real property devoted to the Dahlia project. The Board of Assessment reviews determination of grievance or the defense or settlement of tax review proceedings. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the Deputy Supervisor to execute the stipulation of settlement. The foregoing resolution was voted upon with all councilmen voting as follows. So I guess this has to be a roll call vote. So moved.
Second?
Second.
And voting, Councilman Carlos.
Aye.
Councilman Baisley. No. Joe Laporte.
Aye. It's okay.
Dan Shershin.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Baisley.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. We've come to the end of our agenda. The motion to suspend rules for
So moved.
town items that anyone would like to discuss at all. So moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Brian, come on up.
All right, Mr. Baisley, since you pointed out that the road was to be built near my house, I have another question. As you well know, the site originally, there was a concern that the DEC came and investigated as a result of a complaint that somebody called in. And it turned out that the site had exceeded the extent of the work that was allowed under the New York State DEC permit. And another plan was submitted. So is the town monitoring the site now to make sure that the work is being done in accordance with the revised plan to meet the permit requirements?
To the best of my knowledge, Doreen, yes. We were told to go out, be careful, it's a wetland, and they're on Vassar campus, and, it's their farm, it's ecological ground, that to be extremely careful where they are, and Ms. Knapp, who was watching the project, and Sean are both told to be extremely careful out there where they're going, and make sure they stay within the boundaries of where they are to make this project go as smoothly as possible, so there's not any more bumps in the road, because it is under consent order to get finished. So we want to get this done. The road is, I'm not sure if the road has actually progressed any further since we're waiting for this work to be done. That part, I don't know how far they've gotten.
Okay, so you are reasonably confident that they are following permit requirements?
Reasonably.
All right, I'll be checking. Thank you.
Thanks, Doreen. Anybody else? Sir, come on right up. How are you tonight?
I want to speak in reference to Vic's Garage on the corner of Overrocker Road and Dutchess Turnpike. I see the roof is caving in and it's falling apart, and it had two billboards on the roof. One of them is inside, the other one is still on the roof. Now, a good wind might take that down into Overrocker Road and cause bodily injury, if not property damage. And I was wondering if anything is being done by the town board to hasten this being taken down or something.
No, to the best of my knowledge, they were doing something out there and they stopped him because he was taking something down he shouldn't have, which was causing the same problem he had. I'll check away in the morning and see where they stand with that to make sure it's secured.
Because that seems like a real hazard to me. If the roof is rotting and the billboard is bolted to a rotten roof, it wouldn't take much for a high wind to take that right down onto Overrocker Road.
Yeah, he was working on it. I'll talk to him in the morning and see why it hasn't moved forward.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to address the board? With one comment to make, the Country Club capital project has been complete, on time, and under budget. Bant location is now a grass field. The original contract, we had Veith Electric come in. It was $76,250. The final cost in that was $69,400. The original contract with Clove Excavating was $764,250. That also came in under budget is $737,750. The inspection contract with Morris Associates was $67,000. The final cost in that was $44,500. The original buying cost for residents was $555,000. The cost was reduced to $495,480 based on the lower flows. So long-term costs should be lower than projected in the map plan report going forward. So it was nice to see for a change that things came in under budget. It was a pretty well done project with the coordination with the DEC and everybody going forward. It was one of the smoother run projects that I've seen.
Resolution 16. Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider the following matter to wit: litigation, to discuss the litigation strategy of the case known as Neptune Capital Investors. This is confidential communication between the attorney and his client, the town board, based on the attorney-client privilege. And be it further resolved, there will be no action appropriating money. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Town board goes in executive session at 8:13 p.m. Thank you all. Hopefully this won't be long.